All right, let's talk about set point elevation and weight gain as a result of yo-yo dieting. I think if there's one thing that people have come to understand in the last decade or so, it's that yo-yo dieting does not work. That weight loss is not something that you can achieve through a temporary change in your nutrition and your exercise. A lot of people will still look at it that way though. They'll say, you know, I'm 30 pounds heavier, I just need to diet and exercise to get those 30 pounds down, and then after that, I'm just gonna go back to whatever I was doing before. And we all know that if you go back to whatever you were doing before, you're gonna go back to whatever weight you were at before. That sustained weight loss is only achievable through permanent changes in your nutrition and exercise habits. And looking at things from any other way is not gonna get the results that you hope for. And I think a more important point than that is that you're better off not dieting than yo-yo dieting. Better to just eat what you're eating and stick with it rather than to go, you know, once a season on this period of significant calorie restriction where you cut back to 1,200 calories, you drop 10 or 15 pounds, then you resume your normal diet and the weight comes back on. That up and down change, that losing 5 pounds followed by regaining 5 pounds and then some, and then going back, we call that weight cycling or yo-yo dieting, that this cycling, this kind of round and round, up and down on the scale, actually tells your body that you live in a food insecure environment. And again, our metabolism is completely wired to prevent starvation. So when you're constantly going through periods of famine and starvation, which are what our body thinks a diet is, followed by refeeding, that our body says, you know, I am not confident with my access to food. And so because of that, it starts to shift into a more fat storage mode. And so what we see is that it's not down 5, up 5, it's down 5, up 10, and then down another 5 and up 10. So each time you're kind of clicking up that scale, gaining another 3, 5, 7, 10 pounds per year, all because you're going down and then up, and then down and then up. And your body's saying, I don't like what's happening. Food is insecure and I have to move toward fat storage. So some rules to help you avoid yo-yo dieting. First, never attempt to lose weight by doing something that you can't sustain. And a lot of times I'll see patients, I'm gonna go on this 2-week cleanse. Why would you go on a 2-week cleanse? Just by saying it's only 2 weeks implies that this is something that you're not going to stick with. And if it's something that you're not going to stick with, you're going to get a short-term benefit from it. But then as soon as you resume back to anything that resembles your normal way of eating, you'll start to go back to that weight. So avoid the 2-week cleanses with one exception, and the exception is if you're trying to break some habits. So if your goal is, I'm gonna go 2 weeks clean, no sugar, no flour, no processed foods, and then after that I'm gonna really try to reel in or limit my processed foods, sometimes that strategy works. But a 2-week calorie restriction diet or something that helps you to lose weight quickly is not going to end up helping you in the long run. So again, never attempt any nutritional changes that you can't sustain over the long run. The next is that calorie restriction and this yo-yo dieting can threaten your ability to lose weight in the future. And you should avoid very low calorie diets at all costs. And I think that's a really critical point, is that anytime you're counting calories and that calorie count is getting significantly low, you're putting yourself at risk for long-term weight gain. And in my mind, you should never try to change your diet by adjusting the calories or counting the calories. You should change your diet by adjusting the quality of the food you eat. Eat more of these unprocessed foods like fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and beans, and eliminate the processed food, and look more toward improving the quality of the calories you're eating rather than focusing on the quantity. And I think the last thing to discuss is to start looking at your body weight not as something that fluctuates on a day-to-day or even month-to-month basis, but rather it's the representation of your nutritional and exercise habits over the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It's all about your exposure to processed foods or unhealthy foods, your activity and your genetics and how it reacts to that. And we have to take the long view on this, because focusing on the short view gives us only short-term results and is in the long run going to hinder our long-term success.